My name's Ben Howard. I'm a contracts manager for Tarmac Contracting, working in sort of southeastern Anglia.
And what contract are you currently involved with?
I'm currently working on the A11, which is a job for Area 6 Highways England, which runs from Thetford to Attleborough, and it's approximately about 16 kilometres of dual carriageway with 3 interchanges.
And how long has that been going on for?
The contract started in January 2021 and will run until roughly the end of June 2021.
So a significant piece of work this year.
Oh yeah, significant piece of work. It's quite a high profile scheme for Highways England, especially within Area 6 at the moment.
And is it all nights, or there was a period of day and night, wasn't there?
So for a bit of contract background, it's like I said, it's approximately 16 kilometres long of dual carriageway. There were 2 phases of contraflow, one in the northbound, one in the southbound, and then either side of that has been nighttime closures.
So this is one of the first contracts that materials and national contracting have worked together to provide haulage for the planings. Before we did that, how were planings managed before we got involved?
So prior to, let's say, Tarmac managing the entire process end to end, we would usually go out to the milling contractors and they would put on the haulage for the milling machine. So we would book the milling machines, they would then manage all the haulage, and they kind of did what they did and we kind of did what we did. And yeah, it sort of happened, not necessarily the most efficient way, but it happened.
And I guess the arisings were controlled by the planings contractor then.
Yeah, so all the arisings that came out of the ground, the planings contractor would have carte blanche on what they wanted to do with them, or if they were using external haulage, they would have it, depending on the agreement that, let's say, the individuals that were working for contracting decided to do on a contract per contract basis. Everyone was different.
We got involved and started to work with you on the A11. How was the plan conceived, and how have we started to work together with you?
So I suppose initially it was conversations between myself and yourself about what the scheme was, how we were planning on trying to deliver it, what we needed to do. Obviously, each phase was slightly different. The 2 contraflow phases required a different methodology of working and thinking, as opposed to the nighttime closure phases. So we sort of sat down, spoke about it. You came to see me. We spoke over the Teams. We spoke over the phone, looked at our compound area and looked at what we could and couldn't do to try and be, let's say, the most efficient that we could between us to reap the greater benefits for Tarmac.
And were you nervous before it started? Because it's quite a big change for you guys.
Yeah, so there was some amount of nervousness, let's say, behind, okay, we're using our own internal haulers that not necessarily had been under milling machines before. So there was a safety element that had to be developed and managed, correct weights on lorries, things like that, where we were tipping, where they were going, what the process was to go under the milling machine. So there was a little bit of nervousness around that, but I think we got over that quite quickly and managed that out quite well.
Explain how it currently works. So the people on site and what they do, and how does each shift get sort of controlled and planned?
So currently what we would do on this contract, so the A11 contract, we would have a discussion with your team. So the likes of Steve White would come up. They would sit with either myself or a representative from my team, so either my project manager or one of my site supervisors. We would then go through what we were planning on doing. So the contraflow phases would be slightly different because it was a lot of bulk planing, and it was a case of starting the milling machines 24 hours in advance of the asphalt. So we'd plan what asphalt was coming in, what millings needed to come out, how we could best utilize those vehicles, where the tip sites would be, what obstructions, what safety observations we needed to pull through, and how we needed to manage that out. And we'd go through that sort of a week in advance. The larger phases, so if we were switching from one end of the job to the other, we'd probably discuss that maybe 3-4 weeks in advance, so we could be prepared and ready and look at fleet availability from, let's say, the transport perspective.
Yeah, and on the night, having people helping manage the haulage and the planings specifically, is that a benefit to you?
Yeah, so having someone like Steve on site is a big benefit. So it gives my supervision a point of contact all the while. Steve's in constant contact with the milling crews, with the haulage. So it's manned, it's managed, it's not done from, let's say, a telephone line where they can't necessarily always see where the trucks are. There is a lot of benefits to having someone there that can see, right, it's starting to go wrong or it's going very well. You know, things can be managed appropriately and quickly, especially when we're looking at, you know, short windows to get things done and get high volumes out to maximize the benefit. Having someone there as a point of contact definitely helps the contracting team.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of efficiencies, what are the combined benefits to Tarmac?
So I say in terms of efficiencies, the combined benefit is, I think as we spoke about a lot thus far, you get much better utilization out of the haulage. So we try and avoid them running empty as often as possible. So they will either bring asphalt in and then go under the milling machine, or they'll start under the milling machine and then bring asphalt back. So we can get a lot of benefits from that. There's obviously recovery of the product. So the horizons going into asphalt plants to get used for wrap or wherever it's deemed, you know, the most benefit for that product is. So we retain the whole of the product, shall we say, putting it into the road, retaining everything that's coming out when we can utilize that. So the whole balance is there for Tarmac throughout.
Are you happy with the process? Do you think it's, you know, is it a more sustainable way of working?
I definitely think it's a more sustainable way of working. So as I said, you're utilizing the whole of the product. So all old road, no matter what condition it's in, can be reused in some form or another. The process is good, using DPO to forecast volumes out in front. So people in materials side of the business and in the contracting side of the business can see asphalt volumes going out. They can see milling volumes that need to be removed on the same shift. So we can get really good utilization out of the vehicles again. We can utilize the paving crews better. We can get better timings in. So we can see, right, the milling's going to take roughly this long. Paving's going to take roughly this long. So I think it's a very good process, and we're only going to get stronger with it. The more we do it, the more we're going to refine it.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem.